All right, let's do our half-ass interview.
Okay, if it's bad, we'll do another one.
Well, this one's going to be pretty informal. So like basically, when did you start? Okay, first of all, your name is.
Like my full name?
No, I don't need your full name, date of birth, or nothing. But
You need my social security
yeah,
number
yeah.
for a real person.
Madison, when did you start working for Samson, and how did that all transpire?
Around like middle of October, he messaged me and asked me why I wasn't working for him. And I had just gotten out of a bad relationship, so I fed into it and messaged him back. And I really wanted a job working with animals, so it kind of seemed like a good idea at the time. It
Well,
was a very bad decision.
what was like the agreement? Like, how much money were you going to get? Like, what all was he going to be providing?
He only wanted to speak over the phone. I pressed for him to text me the details of the job and
Yeah.
what would be entailed in the job description. And every single time he would press me to call him. And in these phone calls, he would tell me that I would be making so much money. I'd be so popular. I would have my own place to stay. I would have transportation. I'd get to work with all these amazing animals and travel all over with him and Cass, vending shows. And essentially, I'd make a difference.
Hmm.
And I'd get to work with animals that I always wanted to work with.
How how were you? How was it going to make you popular? Like just the clout of
I
being
guess
in the presence of the great Samson Pruitt, or
yeah,
what?
I guess being like a slither thought.
Oh,
So
okay, that's a good way to put it. Uh, and
not slither thought.
and how? What was the? He was going to provide housing. What was that? What was that situation?
That he had a place for me to stay. He didn't exactly describe what it was, but he said I would have my own room, my own bed, a place to sleep essentially that wasn't with him and Cass. And after I arrived there, after being transported there by one of his friends, yeah, he told me that I would either have to sleep with him and Cass or I could sleep outside.
Well, I mean, were you pretty honored to be able to sleep with him and Cass? I mean, that sounds just like a dream come true for most young women.
Yeah, I've never found a man more attractive than Samson Pruitt, obviously.
So, where was the outside? What was the outside sleeping situation like?
In the van or in the school bus, it was like a white school bus. Looked like the shit you see at like nursing homes, but they cut like a big hole in the side of it and put a window unit in. And
Oh,
they were using it to house tegus for brumation,
oh,
supposedly.
so well, that's nice. You got to sleep with the tegus.
Better than sleeping with Sam and Cass, that's for sure.
Well, if you didn't try it, you can't say for sure. So let's not.
I can't knock it till you try it,
Yeah,
huh?
let's not make any crazy allegations. Um, so so you didn't really have your own bed. Did the van run, or was it just a broken down ass nursing home?
Well, the school bus,
School
it
bus.
kind of ran, but just like enough to be able to move it around, at least from what I was told. They had I can't remember the brand of the van, but it was a pretty big, like, transit van that they
Okay.
used to take to shows.
Okay. Those are pretty spacious.
Like rotting mice, rotting mice and rotting meat in the back of it. I attempted to clean it out one time and I pulled out at least like 7 dead, flattened mice corpses. I guess mummies is what you would call them at that point. Not even a corpse, just like a weird hollow husk of what once was a mouse.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. So, so he didn't follow through on the. But did you get popular though? Like, because I mean, like you could at least capitalize on the fame that it brought you. Became an influencer or something.
Skirted at shows and gawked at by weird customers and people passing by. I guess I was super popular.
Well, I mean, who doesn't like being upskirted? Uh, Yeah, that's weird. So he didn't come through on the popularity. He didn't come through on the housing. What about the payment? The money.
So he said that we would be paid either Cash App or PayPal, whatever worked best. Even Zelle. I remember him mentioning Zelle once to me, but he didn't do cash. You had to file your own taxes, or you could work for animals. That was another thing he offered. And over the phone, he had told me somewhere in the range of like 15 to 20. And when I got there, he told me that I would be making $10 an hour, take it
Oh,
or leave it.
so he told you take it or leave it after you traveled how far?
From central Pennsylvania all the way to his facility in North Carolina.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, spent all day in the car with somebody I barely knew, but he ended up being a really, really awesome guy, and I enjoyed our conversations we had together.
Yeah, because
Him
that's
and his wife were very thoughtful. They were so worried after they dropped me off. His wife wasn't with me, but she was aware that he was taking me there. And when we initially pulled up, both of us were very confused because it looked like some shit out of like My 600 Pound Life or like Porter's Buried Alive. The trash on the front porch was unbelievable. Like you could barely see the front door. We thought it was the wrong house, so we
Hmm.
had to like triple check the GPS and we called Samson. He was like, "Nope, you're at the right place, but the facility is right next door." So we pulled out, went over to the facility, and Sam met us. He was like, "Welcome to Slither, blah blah blah. We'll do a walkthrough of the facility." And me and said guy just kind of like looked at each other, and as we were walking through, we both kind of like knew that things were really, really, really bad here, like worse than what the allegations online had stated.
oh really?
And he ended up having to leave early, and he actually stayed in North Carolina for an additional like 48 hours because he was so worried about me there. He's a
Uh,
good guy though.
do you, I'm surprised you. How long did you make it working there?
Almost a month,
Almost a
like
month.
3.5, 4 weeks. Like it really wasn't that long because every day I was there, the conditions of the animals were it's just very, very upsetting. I had never seen something so terrible as the things I witnessed there, and I know that it probably only got worse after me and other people left. Like he lied to me about the job I'd be working to. He said I would be working with like the animals directly, but when I got there, he put me on bins. And after, I spoke to some people, I kind of realized that like it was a really important job because the conditions that the
Yeah.
animals lived in and nobody gave a fuck about cleaning.
Hmm. How many people were working there when you were there?
Maybe six,
Yeah. Eh,
very, very small amount, and
now
no
those.
bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be a popular
I've
point to be made.
never had to piss outside and shit outside as much as I did when I worked for Samson Pruitt.
That's rough.
It was like camping, but it's your job
Camping,
every day.
camping with animal
Or you
abuse.
could clock out. Yeah, you could clock out and like get unpaid to go take a shit like 15 minutes up the road. So, yeah, no, we were pissing and shitting outside because he already didn't want to pay us.
Oh,
So
he had like a clock in and out machine.
it didn't ever really work. Like some people could use their pins, but him and Cass didn't really give a fuck about setting it up. So most of the time, you would just keep track of your hours, or like they had telecameras, so they could tell like who was there and when, and if you were lying about your hours.
Yeah. Wow. Um. Well, you think if with him living on site that he would be there, that he'd be in there?
He would spend the whole fucking day. He would not get out and do a single thing. He would just sitting there on his phone, bitching on Facebook or
Really?
making sales.
Damn. It's got to be rough to sit in a van all day in North Carolina. It's got to be kind of hot.
He said it's because his back hurt. I mean,
Well,
I wouldn't
probably.
be
Look at the
surprised at how
motherfucker.
they.
Well, he's about 400 fucking pounds. I imagine his back does hurt.
Yeah, you can tell by their house too. I've never seen a filthier house in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. The pictures that I got of the inside of their house, I was just more so shocked that anybody could live like that. Like, it was worse than some of the hoarder episodes I've seen. Like,
Really?
they would have packs of rotting meat behind the couch, unclean litter boxes, just like trash cans upon trash cans, just full of old food and mold.
Why was there just a bunch of rotten meat everywhere? That's kind of a strange thing to just have in the house hanging out.
Because Cass didn't do anything.
Oh,
And Sam didn't cook, and like they'd go to the grocery store and buy food that they hypothetically wanted to make, and they would just bring it in and set it on the couch and let it turn into fucking gross liquid on the floor behind the couch.
why didn't they put it in the refrigerator?
The kitchen was filthy. The kitchen was so disgusting that when I first arrived there, Cass had stapled up a sheet over the kitchen end of things because she was so ashamed of it. And I understand depression can cause you to like slack on those types of things,
Yeah.
but there comes a certain extent that it's like a safety and like health hazard.
Yeah, you don't want
Say that their house was that. I remember in the middle of the night, I had to, their little Chinese crescent they had bought was getting beat up by all the cats, and I wanted to get it a bowl of water. So I went through the kitchen to go get it a bowl of water, and they had like several enclosures in there. You could tell that like had not been cleaned and God knows how long. They never turned the lights on, just constant red basking bulb, white basking bulb, 24/7. One was like a monitor enclosure and Tegu set up and like a dragon. But those were out in the kitchen with trash mountain.
trash mountain. Well, let's run us. Run us through your first day. Like, how did the first day go?
So we did the walkthrough of the facility, and my nose burned from just like the sheer amount of ammonia in the air from unclean cages and
Really?
piss and rotting flesh. Yeah, you could smell it like 10 or so feet outside of the facility.
Yeah, I actually know what that smells like. Well, it was about 20 years ago. I got a call to go over to Phillipsburg, which you probably know where that's at.
Yep.
And the SPCA called me. They're like, "Hey, we need you to come get a snake." I was like, "Okay, where's it at?" They're like, "Well, it's just at this guy's house. He's a hoarder. He's got like 70 dogs." And I pull up, and I'm like 50, 60 feet away, and I get out of the car, and all I can fucking smell is dog piss and ammonia. And I'm like, I'm not even near. I'm on the motherfucking road. I'm not even near the fucking house yet. And
Indescribable.
yeah, and when I got in there, I was like, my eyes are fucking burning, and like he had all these little dogs running around, and the only thing that was good in good condition was that fucking carpet python he had. He bought it at that CNC pet store in Phillipsburg. I think
God,
it
don't
was.
even get me. That
Yeah,
store's terrible.
yeah, so he got it there, and he had this nice cage for it. Like it was like it was like the cleanest thing in the house was like this. They're like the snake's fine. They're like, no, he's willing to let it go. And he did this multiple times. The SPCA would have to go clean him out every so many years because the neighbors would call because the piss smell was like destroying the neighborhood. So
Yeah.
like I actually had experienced like ammonia smell from piss to the point that it burns your
It
nose.
burns your
Yeah.
feel nauseous, and that's how it was every second being in that facility. And they did ambient room temp, so Sam would always tell me he keeps it exactly like Indonesia, and
Oh,
he would
really?
keep it really, really hot in there. Yeah, he'd go on and on and on about how he's the best retic keeper and he knows everything about retics and nobody knows shit except for him, and he keeps his retics the best. We actually got into an argument over retic housing and like cleanliness for caging
Yeah.
because I told him that my retic, like every time, her cage is messy, I replace most of the substrate because,
Yeah.
the piss spreads. And he told me that retics like it to be filthy. They don't want it to be bright. They want it to be covered in shit and piss because that's how they live in bat caves. And no retic wants a clean cage. And if a retic's in a clean cage, they're unhappy.
He actually said that.
Yes.
Very few. Some retics live in bat caves, but they don't live down in the bat shit. They're up high trying to grab bats.
That's what all I could think. And we actually got into an argument also over the use of like prevenamide or permethrin chemical. And he had me whenever I was on bends. Of course, there was like a severe mite outbreak constantly. He would use those stupid ass yellow pest strips that didn't work. So he resorted to using like straight chemical in the tubs. And normally, anybody with common sense is not going to get that in a water dish where snakes are going to drink, or even let the snake come in contact with that chemical before it's dry.
Well, you're supposed to like dilute it big time. You're supposed to dilute that shit big time.
He would dilute it some, but it was more like 50-50. And
it's supposed to be like 1/20th or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I've only really used like prevenamide because I've never had thousands of animals. At most I've had like 120 I had to take care of by myself.
Yeah.
So prevenamide was within my means to buy for my animals. So I understood from a business aspect, not everyone can afford $20 a can for mite prevention.
No, so, you need 40 cans just for one use, just for one day.
Yeah, for some of those cages, you need like 50.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I'd walk through there and feel like my skin was crawling.
Really?
Because of the sheer amount of mites you would see on animals, yeah. That and the death.
Yeah, those pictures that got posted, would you say that's a pretty accurate?
Every single day. The bins that I cleaned out were worse than those pictures.
Really?
I would probably pull like 20 dead animals whenever I was doing bins, and that was in like a 6-hour span.
Really?
Every single day.
Wow.
That or just like regurgitated meals, which should not be that normal of an occurrence.
Yeah. Retics rarely regurge unless they're sick.
Yeah, and it was just a constant thing there. They would leave like feeders out to rot on the ground, like baby pigs, rabbits, lots of chicks. They would get mass shipments of chicks in, right? And most people would put them in a brooder or the big like metal water troughs that you buy for like cattle with like a light because they're a living thing with feelings. Nah, Sam and Cass would get them in and keep them in boxes.
Oh wait, they got them alive.
No, they're alive. They were alive.
They didn't get. Why didn't they just get frozen chicks?
For some reason, they enjoyed like getting the live ones. I don't know, and they would go through. It broke my heart having to go. I remember Cass told me one time to go pull 20 chicks and walking back to the hatchling room with all those baby birds in my hands peeping because they're so dehydrated and hungry because Cass and Sam just have not fed them since we received them. And their excuse for it was, well, they're going to be snake food anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize they were using live food. That's fucking crazy.
They use frozen thawed baby pigs and some frozen mice, but a lot of the stuff was live, like a lot of the birds and stuff. It was all live.
Ew, that's gross. That's just even worse.
It was really terrible. And to neglect the feeders, to have no respect for the feeders that are keeping your animals alive.
Well, I
don't know.
Would he feed them off live, or would he fucking kill them?
He feed them off live.
Oh, really?
They fed a macaw to one of their retics.
Yeah, I got a picture of that actually. I got a picture of a.
Oh, I just saw the picture recently, and that really shook me up because they're extremely intelligent birds.
Yeah,
we lived a very long life of neglect, and he didn't deserve that.
Yeah, that was kind of fucked up to see that retic eating a macaw on the floor. It's like, what the fuck? Who does that?
I don't understand the logic behind it. Every animal in there had a really sad life though. I tried my hardest to pay close attention to the tortoises and the Aki monitors and the rhino iguanas, and they had a black throat monitor living in like a 5x2. It
Yeah.
was fucking massive, and thing had horrible like nose rubs and injuries to its face from trying to escape, and that was another thing they would feed like chicks to.
Well, that's kind of brutal because they'll just like tear him the fuck up. You
They
know.
would laugh about it too, like they enjoyed watching the feeder animals suffer.
Really?
Sam wasn't really ever too involved in the care of the animals. Like I said, he would just sit out in the van, but the first couple nights I was there, one of the big breeder females popped the glass in one of the cages that was clearly too small for her. And we had the fun task of walking up and down the whole facility with flashlight in the dark, looking for a pissed off retic.
Well, why didn't you just turn the lights on?
Said it would stress her out. I don't even quite remember correctly on that one, but yeah, no, we had to walk around with like our flashlights looking for it.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was very weird.
yeah, so seeing some of those pictures though, I mean, like some of it's kind of like hard to believe because any one of those pictures could happen to like a snake. You know what I mean? Like have like I got retics that are wild caught and they bang themselves up pretty bad. But
Yeah, and I
I have like
understand some
I
of them
got one or
to
two
do.
like that. I got like I got two that have banged their faces up really bad. They're both wild caught. So I can see something like that happening. Um but I can't. It's just crazy to see that many animals fucked up. You know.
Yeah,
So that's what's weird is just to see the sheer volume of how many animals are just getting fucked up there. So
if it wasn't the pushing, it was the respiratory infections,
really, yeah. Did you say
the
what?
parasites.
I wonder why they had parasites though. That's kind of something
There's
weird.
actually one story that stands out to me, and I still think about it to this day. And I think about whoever owned these snakes, how it would have made them feel. But the first few days I was there, we got in these two retics from somebody who was loaning them to Sam for breeding purposes, and the manager at the time was instructed to put them in those, the black bins with the yellow lids, like the
Yeah,
ones that are airtight when you
yeah,
seal them.
yeah. They're pretty well sealed.
Yeah, they put the two like almost full grown like adult retics in these bins and forgot about them, and they essentially like cooked to death in their own urine
Ugh,
within the bins.
that
And
sounds
I
amazing.
remember when it was brought to Sam's attention, he wasn't even upset for how the animals died and like the suffering they endured. All he had to say was, "We're not going to tell him about that."
Oh wow.
And the snakes were valued at like $50,000.
Oh, they must have been some high end shit.
Yeah, and all I could think was, wow, like that guy trusted you with his animals and you just let them suffer in the worst way possible and you're just going to lie about it. But what can you expect from somebody with felony dog fighting charges as well as like a slew of other things?
Yeah.
Once an animal abuser, always an animal abuser. You can't change that.
No, no, he seems like a hoarder slash
He most
narcissist.
definitely is. Every show I went to, I believe, 3 shows with them, and every single show we vended, they did not really sell anything. They would push me to do sales the whole time while him and Cass would sit and do nothing. So I would have to talk to people, and most of the sales we made were trades for animals they were not equipped to keep whatsoever. One that stands out to me was at the Show Me Snake show in Tennessee, October 2021. Somebody had traded him for this big ass monitor female. She was very stressed out. We also got a pair of green tree python
Man,
import.
I
So
bet you those didn't last long. I can't imagine they lived very long at all.
he had like one of those big ass Bluetooth speakers, right? Like
Yeah.
huge ones. Tell me why he had these poor snakes, like all the animals they had bought for the day and traded for,
Yeah.
up next to the speaker, blaring. Like it was so loud that the organizer for the show complained and told him to turn it down because his music was too loud and it was vulgar.
Oh, really? It's amazing how many people were doing business with him behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to hear that Garrett was like, I had only heard good things about him, and it was very disappointing because I always kind of put him up on a pedestal within the retic community because he seemed like a good guy. But anybody who could do business with Samson, knowing what kind of person he is, isn't somebody I would ever want to support or give my money to.
Yeah, well, Garrett created that online image of himself, and he put himself up on that pedestal for everyone
He
to
did a damn
see.
good job.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. He's good at really good at marketing. He's really fucking good at marketing, and he marketed himself well to the point. He marketed himself too well because as more and more people find out, like it's kind of just a used car salesman, show.
Probably.
It's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt his business majorly. So, well, since the living conditions sucked and the working conditions sucked, and what else was going on there? Like, because I'm, you're every single girl I've talked to, all seem to have had the same proposition of to sleep in bed with the retic power couple.
He essentially wanted me to be their girlfriend
Oh,
and
really?
just be like this person that lived with them and had sex with them. And
That's odd.
I had, like I said, I had just gotten out of a pretty bad relationship. So I was just looking for, I guess, a distraction from
Yeah.
what my life was. And I really wanted this job to work out. And honestly, he hadn't even really given me the vibe when we had spoken over the phone other than like him paying me a couple compliments and I just assumed that was him being nice because again I had just gotten out of a relationship. Like most people appreciate a compliment after that, so I just chalked it up to he was just being nice. Like he's married.
Yeah.
Cassandra is my age, so I just kind of assumed like that was his jam and I moved forward with it. But I knew the second I got there that there was that weird like swinger dynamic to things because the first thing he said to me when I got out of Sean's car and went to go shake his hand was, "Wow, your tits look huge in that shirt."
Yeah. I mean, that's a good icebreaker, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's for an employer to say.
yeah, I've never had a boss be so straight up with me like that. So I gotta hand it to him
Wow.
first for everything, right?
Well, I noticed in pictures, there seemed to be a outfit or dress code for shows for that. I always seem that
Skirt,
seemed a little odd.
fishnet,
Skirts and
slither
fishnets,
shirt,
slither shirt, skirt and fishnets.
or booty shorts.
Keeping it classy for the shows for the kids.
Yeah,
For
they
the
sure
kids.
did pop up those sneak sales though.
Oh, did they? It
I
helped.
guess in his eyes, they would definitely get attention from men, and they would come over and bullshit with Sam over it. But
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know that whole situation with that Cassandra chick. It kind of
it's really.
seems, yeah, it kind of seems like almost like a grooming type situation.
I talked to her quite a bit about like how she ended up there because we spent some time together. Like I tried really hard to get to know her and
Yeah.
figure out like what led her to be where she's at now. And I will say Sam had a really awesome way of like showing his affection for her through monetary gifts. Like anytime
Okay.
we went somewhere, he would spend like ridiculous amounts of money on her. And he tried to do the same thing to me. And when I wasn't like swayed by him trying to spend hundreds of dollars on me at the smoke shop, I I guess, turned him off.
Uh,
But yeah, he would buy Cass all sorts of stuff, and that was kind of like their love language. Is he would buy her all sorts of stuff and give her whatever drugs she wanted, and she wasn't even really like with that lifestyle before she got with Sam. Actually,
that's what I heard. That she was kind of like the exact opposite.
it made me feel
This,
bad for her. Not gonna lie, 'cause, like I just saw her as like this young girl who just met somebody who is really good at telling a story,
yeah,
and you believe what you want to hear when you're leaving a bad situation.
yeah,
So I just kind of chalked it up to that for her.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how the story of her originally having to like live in the shed and shit in a
About
yeah, and live in a shed and shit in a bucket. While he was staying with some other his like ex chick, like like somewhere else. Like I was like, man, like how do you look at that and be like, oh yeah, this is the life for me. That's what's fucked up. That's what I
yeah, it's a bit
was.
crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
But I
So
mean, I can't speak much. I slept on their couch for almost a month because I really wanted to make it work. So I mean, I get where she's coming from. She really wanted to make it work with him, and look at her now.
yeah, popular, rich, famous. Just she's just killing it. Just killing it. So a lot of the people that
I really do wish the best for her, though. I hope that she'll see things for what they are.
well, dude, I kind of think she's going to need counseling if she ever gets away from the situation.
She
Yeah.
will, but you live and you learn.
Yeah, I actually, because a lot of people are shitting on her, and I haven't really shit on her too much because I kind of see it as a little bit of a different situation. I'm not saying she's
I will say,
innocent, but I'm not saying she's 100% guilty either.
when it comes to the animal husbandry and stuff, she most definitely is just as bad as Sam, but she's learned from Sam everything she knows.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of hard to hold it against her in a sense because that's all she's been around, and Sam has a way of like convincing you that every other way is wrong if you don't already have prior understanding of how animal husbandry is supposed to be. He didn't particularly like the fact that I knew how to take care of animals. Like it seemed like he wanted to hire like alternative looking women that liked reptiles but didn't know how to take care of them.
But I just think it's weird that he was always hiring young girls to work in a giant warehouse full of dangerous retics. Like that just seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, he always told us that if anything were to ever happen, like there were machetes and stuff around the facility, and that you were just instructed to chop the snake apart if it ever attacked you.
Oh my
Yeah,
god. That's fucking amazing.
yeah.
Just grab the machete and go to town.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, those pictures of those snakes with the blown up lower jaws, did you get to see any of that shit?
I remember quite a few times when I had to go in there to get supplies, or I was going in there to find Kagan. There was one in particular, like when you'd walk through the doors, you'd go all the way to the back to the left. It was like a bright yellow and white. I don't remember what genetics it had, but it was a pretty big snake. Its whole fucking front of its face looked like somebody had like taken a shovel to it and
Hmm.
pushed it upwards. Like it did not have a nose. It did not have heat pits. It was just like mush,
Really?
like pus and scabs. Like it was fucked up. And I brought it up to Sam. I'm like, yeah, why isn't the snake receiving like veterinary attention? Like, what are you doing to treat it? And he was like, oh, well, some of them just push real bad and you can't do anything about it because that's just their personality. And I knew that wasn't right. So I just kind of like shrugged it off and tried to put it in the back of my mind, which I feel absolutely terrible about now. And I have since then. There were multiple times I'd be walking through and I would just start crying or tearing up. because I know retics are super, super intelligent. It's just really sad that they had to live a life like that.
Yeah, I do you think that what's coming out will be bad enough to put an end to Slither Exotics?
I think so. Because it's nothing but the truth. All those pictures that have been posted,
Yeah,
it's worse than what you see in the picture. It's like a picture is it can tell a story worth 1,000 words, but like until you witnessed it in person, nothing nothing trumps that.
yeah. So, like, you said you were pulling as many as 20 dead animals in a day?
Yeah, they would bring out stacks of bins, and for the most part, they'd pull what they could, but there would still be dead snakes, like bits of body parts, blood, obvious, like regurged meals. And when something dies, like it leaves like a death cast over whatever they're laying on. Like you
Yeah,
can see the outline of their body from their body rotting into whatever substrate they're on.
yeah.
There were quite a few like that, like depicted in the photos that I've seen and you have shown me. Yeah, lots and lots of dead animals.
Yeah, it's just so weird that he thought this was a sustainable business model. Like that's what we were talking about with the other former employee in the previous video. Was like, what the fuck was the game plan here? Like, it doesn't none of it made
Produce as
sense.
much as he possibly can and sell as much as he can. He did not care if people bought mainlands and they were not equipped to keep them. He actually got mad at me at the Show Me Snake show because I was explaining to customers that, hey, this mainland is $600, but you're going to spend 3-4 grand minimum getting it in a proper setup as an adult, and that barely even scratches the surface. Feeding, housing, everything that they need. It's fucking expensive, and the super dwarfs, like, yeah, they're a little bit more expensive to start out with, but like, you're not going to spend what you would on a mainland. You're not saving yourself money by buying a mainland. And Sam didn't like that because he had been breeding a lot of mainlands that season. He needed them gone. But it broke my heart to imagine people getting retics and neglecting them.
Yeah. So how did you manage to get out of there?
Basically, Sam could tell that I wasn't feeling it. He kept asking me if I wanted to be there, and I told him that I was just thinking about things and I would let him know. And the one day that I went to work there, I had just kind of had enough of seeing the animals in the condition they were, and it seemed like no matter how hard I worked, like they were just always going to have a really horrible existence. And there was nothing I could do that was going to make a difference or help them. So I messaged him one night after him and Cass had gone to bed, and I told him, like, hey, this isn't working out for me. I didn't exactly tell him why I was leaving. I just
Yeah.
told him that I was having a hard time with like my mental health, and I needed to be back somewhere where I had some sort of support and love and care for me, and told him that I hoped that him and Cass didn't dislike me for not wanting to be there. But he had told me multiple times if I ever wanted to go home, he would make sure that I got home. So I thought that when I told him, he would have empathy for how I was feeling and be like, you know, I'll help you get home. He never paid me for any of my work I did there or commission, which was quite a bit of money, like at least thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of money, and I really counted on getting that money because I would work from like let's say 8, 9 in the morning to like 8 o'clock at night.
Really?
Yeah, I'd be outside like all day. Some days we'd get done at like 6, which was nice. But yeah, I really counted on getting that money when I left. When I told him that I was leaving, he pulled me into the van and essentially told me that he had spent X amount of money getting me there and that it was a total waste of his time to even have me come out there, and that I could either, you know, him arrange for me to have somewhere to go and like get picked up, or like I could find my own way. But either way, he wasn't paying me.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then he offered me a retic that I had taken a liking to. It was like a $4 or $5,000 snake, and he told me he'd give it to me for like 1,500. I was like, yeah, sure, would be nice with all the money I haven't been paid.
So he was gonna he refused to. Well, let's start over. He told you were gonna have housing, be a superstar somehow. He was going to pay you 15 to 20. When you got there, it was only 10. When you also didn't have a place, your bed or nothing. You were sleeping outside or in a van or on a couch.
Yeah, I was on the couch with their fucking 15 cats.
Yeah, didn't have a fucking toilet. And then when you're like, no, this isn't for me, he's like, well, you're fucking me, so I'm not paying you the money for all the work you did.
Yep, basically. And he had this fucking Slither fanboy take me home, and that was like a story in itself.
Oh, really?
But yeah, yeah, that's essentially what happened.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just,
I'm pretty ashamed looking back.
yeah, I'm just kind of worried that like if this continues, there's just going to be more and more young girls telling this fucking story.
Yeah, it's like a fucking broken record, isn't it? Like we all say the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's literally
And
the same fucking story.
I'm
Everybody tells.
anxious to even like bring it up just because I know how the reptile community is, and I know how small it is, and I
Yeah,
know people that fuck with him and support what he does are going to see it, and I'm going to get hate for it. But it's pissed me off for years now. Like it's been 2 years now, and I still haven't been able to get it out of my head.
really.
So yeah, anytime I see his name mentioned or people bring up his animals, all I can think about are the things that I witnessed there. And I really wanted to come forward about everything and post my pictures after I left. But at the time, like Sam had a bunch of people like on his dick, like
Yeah,
fanboying over him and Slither and the animals he was producing in the Rainbow Project. So I knew if I came forward, it was just going to be a lot of shit, and it's hard to deal with that when you're already not having the easiest time.
yeah, yeah. And plus, it takes more than one person to do it too for it to gain any traction.
That's what I've been saying for years. Like, it's crazy that now all this stuff is coming to light, and I wish it would have happened sooner, but
Well, my
I
involvement,
would rather it happen now than never.
you know, Samson really needs to thank Garrett for all of this shit because you know Garrett took me to Samson's doorstep with that Turnate situation. Samson
Yep.
really wasn't. I mean, I've always kind of made fun of Samson and shit, because I know what he is, but I really wasn't. It wasn't until I found out Garrett went out of his way to get my snakes to give to Samson that I was like, my whole goal was
I
to make.
still can't believe that.
Yeah, my whole goal was to make sure everyone found out that Garrett did that. And it just so happened that simultaneously other people had been talking to ex-employees and there's all these fucking pictures and they didn't know what to do with them. And they're like, Rodney, will you do something with these? Like, yeah, I'll fucking do something with these. I'll fucking post them everywhere if you want me to. I don't care. And that and
You're
that's
doing the right thing.
and that's what happened. And it's like, dude, that was an expensive motherfucking turnate for fucking
Yeah.
Garrett for Garrett and Sampson, man, because Garrett destroyed
Yeah.
his entire reputation and lost business, and fucking this, this. I probably wouldn't have been this involved in this situation if it wasn't for that, and
What happened for a reason.
yeah, so it's like,
Another thing that stands out to me that I didn't mention were the dogs and the big cats at
oh yeah,
Sam's place.
there's dogs there.
Actually, at the Show Me Snake show, he got a Chinese crested and this little fucking Maltipoo Chihuahua mix. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a little gray dog
Yeah,
that he got for cats. Like they traded some snakes to some crackhead dude. for it. Like, dude very obviously ran a puppy mill, and Sam didn't care. He just wanted the dog, so he got this sad little Chinese crested, and you probably find the pictures on his page. I'm actually in a few of them holding the dogs,
Really? Is
but I was never there.
that
Sam
what they
tried to say
say?
I was never there. If you could, yeah, if you go down on his page, like you could see my tattoo and like
Yeah.
my hands in their pictures and like my pants and everything holding those dogs, but I was never there. Anyways, they had I don't even remember what it was. It was like a Frenchie, like some sort of fucked up dog, and they had bred it to some other fucked up dog, and it was supposed to have puppies for them or whatever. They let their dog shit and piss inside, fed them like the worst dog food, kept them locked in cages. The cats were, I mean, I wouldn't say the cats were neglected, but they were basically like 15 of them were like trapped in a living room like most of the day
Wow.
with one scratching post for that many cats.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he have the exotic cats when you were there?
Yeah, he actually did. I believe they had the Carkle. I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Several.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because I got
Yeah,
pictures of
I
them in
saw
the
the picture of the
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I got pictures of it in the freezer. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the rest of that stuff. I think there was a kinkajou. Uh,
Yep, I remember the kinkajous. I cried over those too because they had them in a fucking bird cage.
wow. Well, I think somebody said that the one they died from like just dehydration, like they just didn't get water or something.
They never watered them. I actually got called a whole like slew of names because that monitor we got at the Showy Snake show had gone through transport for like 3 days before she got to the show, and then was at the show like slash our hotel room for 2 days, and then we transported her back. And the whole time, this animal did not receive water, and I asked about it like 3 different times about feeding, watering her, and I was told, well, oh, she's still moving around. She doesn't need that. And I was just concerned because you can tell when a reptile, especially a monitor, is getting dehydrated, like their skin like looks stiff, like where
Yeah.
it rolls up, like it looks stiff, like it looks like crumpled up piece of paper. And she just did not look too hot. And after like her being at the facility for like 4 or 5 days, she was knocking on death's door. She was so dehydrated. So I pulled Kagan aside and pointed it out to her, and I was like, "Hey, this monitor really needs water. Like she is extremely dehydrated. It's very warm in here. She needs to drink." And I had a water bottle on hand, so she gave me permission. Sam was very anal about like nobody was to make decisions about the animal's care other than him or Kagan. So I made sure
Well, what the
I
fuck?
brought it up to
What?
Kagan.
That's not a decision. It's not it's not a managerial decision to give an animal water. Like
If
what?
it's dying, yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, that's what I thought. But we gave it water, and she acted like appreciative of the fact that I had brought it up, and I guess she like told Sam that I brought up that this animal was extremely dehydrated. And the following day at lunchtime, it's like 12ish. He was he always took me like up the subway for lunch because him and Cass never had food in the house, so I couldn't pack a lunch. So he would always drive me up there because I didn't have a car. So I thought the one day when he pulled me aside that we were going to get lunch. So I was in a pretty good mood. I walked up to him and he's like, "We need to have a talk." And he took me in the van and essentially like told me that I knew nothing about animals and nothing about reptiles or animal husbandry, and that he knows everything, and I better not ever bring up a single issue with his animal care to anybody but him ever again, because, as I quote, those are my fucking animals and I'll do whatever the fuck with them as I please. You need to come to me if you want to do something different with my animals. He's like, I don't appreciate you causing problems and saying that I'm not taking care of my animals. And all I said was like, I never said that like you weren't taking care of them. All I brought up was that she really needed water. And he's like, well, that's the same thing, and it's not your place to bring that up. Like you need to come straight to me if you see an issue with one of the animals. Which was weird because like when I started, he told me that anything with the animals to bring up to Kagan.
Wow. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That is fucking totally insane that he fucking acts this way. Wow.
Yeah. My head's just like fried thinking
Yeah.
about the animals.
Yeah.
The pictures of the tortoise that sulcata, like, especially broke me. Like, I cried for about 15 minutes after I saw that picture because I love that tortoise so much. He was so sweet, and it takes so much neglect to
Yeah.
get a sulcata to that point.
Hmm.
Like, even now, it's bringing me to tears a little bit because, like, I don't understand how anybody could treat them that way.
Did any of them die while you were there?
Thankfully, none of the tortoises died when I was there.
What?
It was mostly snakes.
What about the crocs? There, he did have some. He did have crocs and shit and caimans for a little
They
bit.
were in like
Nice.
kiddie pools with chocolate milk as water. It was so dirty that like you could literally not even see what the fuck was in there.
Really.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. The one thing that really stood out to me is those water trouts I mentioned, like 6 foot ones that are like maybe 2 feet wide.
Yeah.
He would be keeping like full grown black and white male tegus and those, as well as like full grown Nile monitors,
Really.
croc monitors. There was one rhino iguana actually back like in the very back of the facility where it had been living in a makeshift bird cage for like the past couple years, and
Huh.
the only thing this thing ever ate were like iceberg lettuce and the Missouri pellets.
Really. And just
Yep, with
yeah.
one red light. That's all. There was also an iguana there that lived in an extra large wire metal dog cage with a red light, and he ate dog food and Missouri and iceberg lettuce.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't understand why he even had all that shit. Like, why didn't it occur to him if he's trying to run a business that he probably would do much better financially if he had significantly less animals?
I don't know. 'Cause he wanted to make cats happy, and like others have said, he truly is delusional and thinks that like he could ever open a zoo. And I think that comes down to him not having like the best mental health, and that's okay. Everybody struggles with that, but there comes a certain extent where you have to say like enough is enough. I can't cause animals to suffer like this for my fucking delusional dreams.
You're the second person to tell me about his zoo he wanted to start.
Yeah, he would always. My favorite thing about Sam is every single time we go in and like look for eggs and stuff, he'd always go on about how he was a millionaire. He was going to be a millionaire off this rainbow project. He was going to have so much money. He wouldn't even know what to do with it, he said.
What? Dude, he's been
Yeah.
in snakes long enough to know that you're not getting rich off retics. Like that's what I look
Yeah.
at. Like even that Rainbow Project. Let's say people are willing to spend 10,000 a piece. There's not that many people with $10,000 to spend, and most of those people aren't looking to buy a snake with that $10,000. You know what I mean? So it's not.
Yep.
It's yeah. I can't fucking believe that. I can't believe his level of delusion. I think that's the one thing him and Garrett have in common is this delusional idea that if they have this giant facility and all these animals, that there's going to be a demand to meet their supply, and it's just not going to fucking happen.
Especially not with how the market's been. Like, you're hard pressed to sell a $4,000 animal for 2 grand
Yeah,
and find a good home for it at that. Nobody cares. Like, the market's been really, really bad for like the past 3 years.
because it's the economy. I mean, the economy is what it is,
Yep.
man. It's like nobody has, you go to this grocery store and shit that costs $50 costs 120 now. You're just how the fuck are you gonna buy?
Nobody can afford it.
Yeah, how you buying retics when you can barely afford your fucking food? It's just
Yep.
be a basement breeder and try to make 50 grand.
That's
You know what?
a basement breeder.
Yeah, that's what it is. You be a basement breeder.
Yeah.
You keep your collections super super manageable, and be happy. Like That's the thing. Like everybody wants to make all this money. It's like if you could play with snakes and make an extra $50,000 a year, you should be pretty fucking happy. Because a lot of people don't even make $50,000 a year at their real job that they went and got a stupid fucking college degree for. And if
Yep.
and if you can make an extra 50 grand having fun and playing, then do that. Why try to make a half a million? It's just I don't know.
Delusions.
Yeah, it's like this industry just like over and over we watch these people fail miserably, and then somebody else comes along. It's like, well, no, I'll succeed. It's like, no, you won't. No, you won't. You're gonna get way too many animals and way too big of a facility and have way too many employees, and then the economy crashes, and guess what? You're fucked.
Can't do shit. Yep.
Yep, you are fucked.
It honestly amazes me that he's even been able to like afford to keep stuff running because he was in pretty bad shape when I was there, at least. To not
Really?
pay me what he owed me, you gotta be super broke. Because
Yeah.
he didn't even owe me that much in retrospect.
Yeah. I wonder
I just
how
kind of cut my losses.
I wonder how he was affording to feed his snakes. If
Trades.
really just trading out for
Yeah, he
foods.
would trade people for stuff. Yeah. That he would buy outright. Like I know that he was buying pigs from this one farm and he would just find random people.
Wow. That's sad that he
Wouldn't
was
surprise me. Hmm?
that was just sad that he got all those live chicks in and we're just letting them fucking sit there.
That really messed me up because like I love birds and I know that baby birds they need water and they need food and they need warmth and he would just keep them in those boxes and they'd be crying, they'd be peeping their fucking little heads off trying to figure out why they're trapped in this box and it made me feel like a monster, honestly, like going and having to pluck them out. Like even now, just thinking about that makes me tear up because it just was not right.
He
I
could have
really believe in respecting the feeder animals that sustain your animal, and it's just sad.
he could at least CO2'd them. CO2 will kill a baby chicken like
Too much money for Samson.
nah, CO2's dirt ass cheap, man. CO2 will kill a bird in like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, they'll just fall over. You know.
Nah, Sam wouldn't be paying for that stuff. He won't even take a sick animal to the vet.
Yeah, well,
He's got money though.
yeah, he's gonna be a millionaire.
Remember?
He's gonna be a
Me
millionaire.
too. With that ideology, I'm already a millionaire.
Yeah, he's a millionaire in theory. Million
Me too.
dollars. Yeah,
Rodney,
yeah, exactly. We're all just
we all are.
theoretical millionaires.
Call me Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, fucked up. But yeah,
God.
yeah. I think that's good for now. That's a lot of shit. That's a lot of shit. So